look no further. Because what we have here is a controller. I know. It comes with paddles on the back so you can do everything a mouse and keyboard player can do, but better.
Pissed off when we got a controller is because, like, it literally feels like we get aimbotted, like, close range.
On controller, especially in close range, is completely artificial and it's not hard whatsoever.
So aim assist and M&K. This has been a long debate for as long as gaming has existed on both consoles. And growing up, I would hear this all the time, but I knew the highlight of it started when cross progression started becoming a thing, or crossplay, I would say, in games like Fortnite. And at first I was like, nah, aim assist is not that bad. But then in the earlier stages of Fortnite, that thing looked like something. It looked like aimbot. It was crazy. They even nerfed it. And as time goes on, as you know, with their first major big tournament, roller players end up being the worst out of the bunch who got there. And some even speculated they had to cheat to make the playoffs. But now that debate goes on to further my career, with me being a roller player for Apex and the pro scene. And as a roller player myself, I never really cared. I was like, oh, it's a what advantage, and if it's that big advantage, to switch, you know, not big deal. For the pro players at least, because if you're a pro player, you use what's best in your arsenal if you want to get the competitive advantage. But with new statistics that recently came out from a guy on Reddit, that might not be the case anymore. Now, what I mean when that debate might be over, is basically off this data I found in the high level play. Now, I want to make sure I clarify this. This is high level play. This is not beginner players, intermediate players, or even good players. This is all ALGS, Apex Legends, global series, like the best of the best, basically. And this is taken from, as we can see, I'm pretty sure every region is where the statistics were found. And this whole document this guy did, from pulling all this like 2 terabytes of competitive play, we have a lot of good things to be interested in, and some I may make other videos about later on. Gibraltar, cheaters, optimal engagements, optimal rotations, optimal backpack, all the good shit. But one thing I wanted to focus on in this video, as you click on it, is the aim assist. Now the numbers are based on 100, like on 100. So they're using it to like the advantage, like 50. Like so basically, to make it more simple, we're gonna use percentage based on like terms of gunfights. And in this, as you can see right here, it goes over all the engagements in the pro league and the likeliness of roller players compared to M&K players on who has the higher percentage of winning, right? Or who, like, not like due to like some random statistic, due to like the found footage of who won the most gunfights. For bubble encounters, M&K 54% to roller 46%. And that's shocking to me because when I play in bubble fights, I always hear like, oh yeah, you got an advantage because you're a roller player, you know, shotgun stuff, which inherently I probably do. But maybe there's just something else that's taking a factor into these bubble fights. Then you got short range encounters. Now this one, I thought roller definitely had the advantages because aim assist, right? Wrong. Even though it's still a close gap, M&K takes 52% to roller's 48%. Range encounters is the closest margin, which is weird because most pro players will say M&K definitely has the advantage, and which they still do, but it's not as big as most people thought. Then the only section where rollers seem to have a huge advantage, or disadvantage in general, is total one clips, which M&K stands at a staggering only 38% chance to one clip you, while rollers have a 62% chance in engagement. And that's crazy. So what this guy pointed out in his aim assist, going over it, it says the ADS turn speed advantage on M&K allows to dominate in quite chaotic bubble fights. Which, if you've seen a player named as Raz, having that extra movement, turn assist seems to check out a lot in bubble fights. So if you're just a roller player standing still, and you face someone who has similar skill with you but higher movement, it seems like you're just gonna get rolled over. And it seems like the most crazy part about all this is even with aim assist, most pro players are saying it deserves a nerf at the high level. What this shows, if anything, aim assist might need a slight buff, which I'm not saying it does. I'm not saying it does. These are the closest stats. I thought the stats would be way more wild than this. I thought that it would be a huger gap, if anything, right? But what it does show is that M&K is still winning on every engagement, on most engagements. So if these stats are real, we can take from these that Roller's not that broken. But that is not to say Roller does not have some inherent advantages. Alright, so this part of the video is more so just going over my opinions over the whole Roller versus M&K debates, and more so my POV on, or my POV as being a controller player who plays at a high level in Apex. I never really cared as much. Like, obviously being the controller player, like, even my teammates will say that, people are 1v1 and stuff like that. They'll often be like, oh, you only won your Roller, it makes sense, yada yada. And I'm just like, I ignored it mostly. Like, it's whatever, you know. If it was really that bad, they wouldn't be allowed in the comp scene, or they would have already nerfed it already, or you know, people will switch to Roller. It's more so just an excuse faster. Like, people be, oh, this person was Roller, that's why I lost. More so just get annoying over time just to hear people complain, but not really just because it's Roller, just more because they're complaining and not looking at their own faults in general. That being said, Roller is, I think, inherently easier to get into on the lower gaming level, because most people grow up with controller and FPSs before they move to PC. So with that being said, like, obviously Roller I think is easy to get into, but I think if you're going to compete at the highest level, there is some level of you stabbing yourself in the foot if you do not try to, or inherently try to master mouse and keyboard, because it has a lot of movement benefits, macro settings, and other stuff you can do. And while Roller players do not have that many options, while Roller may have aim assist, inherently they have a slower response time on the controller. They can't move while looting. They can't, they're oftentimes slower because it's not as fluent as them to be wall jumping and stuff. What else can I point out? There's like a long list of things. Also, okay, funny thing most people don't point out is recoil control is not, I won't say it's super like as big, but recoil control is often a little bit times harder because there are some guns that just work better on M&K for Apex talking, because the guns that jump don't have that inherent kick on M&K for some reason. Don't know the science behind it, but if you look at the L-Star compared to the L-Star controller, even I heard Snipe Down talk about this at one point, there's an inherent kick for controller players that L-Star players on M&K inherently do not have. So, like, just to name a few examples, there's obviously a lot of advantages, but with the advantages come a lot of time and practice. And if you're a pro player, you should be looking to incorporate a lot of this practicing and stuff, because if you master these things, you will be a menace to the field. I don't think many people can talk about like the inherent advantages like that M&K are given. So as a pro scene, if you're a pro player or an aspiring pro player, you shouldn't be looking to complain as much, is generally my take on the whole discussion. More so if you're getting beamed up close by a Roller player, you should be looking, how can I improve my movement? How can I change up my strafing? Because Roller players are not like that godly. Most of them are not. If you play just a little bit smarter than them, they kind of fold over like Lego pieces. They're not that scary, I promise you. I actually prefer to fight Roller players than I do to fight M&K players because how still they stand. It's actually quite funny. But that's just my general takes. Roller is often easier, but at the pro level from those stats. And oh, I forgot to mention this one stat. Even if these stats are forged in any way, we can still look at the top 10 kill leaders of ALGS for NA at least, and see that only one Roller player, which is Verles for TSM, got in the top 10 kills. It is compared to all the 9 other M&Ks. Designful has even once quoted from G2, a whole Roller team has even quoted that Roller players do not see that much success in the pro scene. I understand at some point it may be bantering, but I think some people may not understand it's bantering as a joke when they say, "Oh, it's roller," because you have clips and clips of like beginner streamers just complaining about roller players. But at the end of the day, if you're taking this serious, you're taking this career path, you're an MK, rollers should be nothing but like stepping stones to you. Is most of my general take on the things. In conclusion, the gap on the high level stage at least isn't as big as we thought between the inputs. There's no data to further prove that roller is a better input. And matter of fact, the more I dig, the more I just see stats on stats to just further prove that M&K is the superior input. Now that could be debated whether it's just, better players or more dedicated players are on M&K than they are on roller, and what happens if those dedicated players go to roller, and back and forth and yada yada. But from what we find now is, if anything, M&K seems to be the better overall input at the high level stage. Now, if pro players or aspiring pro players at anyone want to challenge the information I have, or more so discuss it, my DMs are always open on Twitter. I will also leave that in the description below. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a good day and Happy New Year's 2022. Let's all reach our goals, and I'll see you guys